Okay, wherever you are, we want to bring you a live talking about the issues of domestic violence, and we had on this for the past 3 weeks. We just ended, and I'm here to talk about um, the progress and what our next steps. Those of us who are listening, those of us who are live on YouTube, I'm here to to look at uh, the community engagement. Last week we have this live, and I want to say thank those of us who are on Facebook. Matter of fact, this is a test on our YouTube, and I want to line it up here that we are going to be coming up um, with in the next uh, our programs, and I want us, those of us who are listening to the sound of my voice. This is about a global initiative, the Synergy campaign against domestic violence. In our community engagement, we talk about how can the community get involved in sensitizing the public and the community dwellers. How can we actually be in the interest of each other? How can the community actually show out? In other words, to do the work of the community or to do the work as a consultant. Now, from the United States Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights, on the end, it promotes human rights to enhance global human rights education and to make sure that people have the resources, in other words, the teaching materials to learn their rights and also their responsibility. The community engagement is actually talking about different topic. How can we engage our community leaders? How can we engage church leaders? And so as I begin this YouTube post and my channel, I'm going to be talking about issue of domestic violence, the issue of religious freedom. Last week, the 27th of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom celebrated 24 years of existence since 1989. Um, yeah, 1998, they came into being. But the question about religious freedom, when it has to do with human rights, we talk about the thoughts of people, what they believed. They have freedom of thoughts. So when people express what they want to do in all worship, then it shouldn't become a hindrance, or there should be no hindrance. So religious tolerance, actually, when you look at, is in Article 18 of the United Nations Declaration. Now, as we go about this awareness, especially coming up in December, we want to say to all of us, those of us who listen to the sound of my voice, domestic violence actually is a crime, yes, but it's prevalent in many communities. We want to say here that if we're to act upon the word of God, we're to act upon uh, what the Bible says or what the laws require us, then of course everyone has some level of authority that we can use in order to help others who are limited. So, this channel, we're going to be coming up with our community engagement, and we want us to understand, those of us of life, you know, domestic violence is something that goes on every day in the religious cycle, in our communities, in the homes, and you're talking about in government. So it's such a broad topic that everyone needs to understand. If you go back and see some of the suicidals or people who commit suicide, you will understand if they'll come back to tell you why. It is because of something. And so, as we follow us, listening to the podcast, we're going to be discussing our community engagement like tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking about it is community engagement, right and responsibility. But mainly, I'm going to be emphasizing on religious freedom, how religious freedom actually opens the opportunity or gave the opportunity to people who have denied of the right to worship the God they want to worship. So if religious tolerance is something that we all will learn and begin to exercise, then of course we're going to be having a better society. So tomorrow we're going to be discussing about that in our community engagement. And before I conclude, those of us who are listening to this podcast, I want you to count it of joy, yes, but I want you to take precaution when you look at uh, the case of many victims, people who survive will tell you about some of the things they went through. But once you went through something and you did not survive, there will be no time, there's no room for testimony. So in order to prevent domestic violence, in order for us to take the precautionary measure, in order for us to stop something or prevent something from happening, then of course we need to listen to this. Besides the psychological, the emotional, the abuse, and everything else, every one person in every 10 minutes or 5 minutes in America or in the West, in some part of the world, people are domestically abused. And so when people are abused, it's very easy for them to be trafficked. So that's what makes trafficking and domestic violence is tied together. Because if you abuse economically, if you abuse the people in your country or a country that is depriving the people of the rights to social justice, to to the economic needs and things that are basic needs, then of course they finding a solution. Now, why finding a solution? Then people take the advantage to traffic them, and that's what makes trafficking and domestic violence the same. They have tied together. So in order for us to prevent domestic violence, we can be able to start teaching, training, mobilizing, going to churches, community, and teaching people. Now, the hostility campaign against domestic violence is a kind of um, it's a spotlight, yes, but it more or less bringing you to the place where it opens your eyes to see where the name Osynergy comes from and why it is named Osynergy Campaign Against Domestic Violence. You see, if you begin to look at the situation of the victim, you realize that when we say speak out or when we say stop, it means that if we can stop, it means we prevent further chaos or something disasters that might happen. Now, in the case of other people, where we see domestic violence become a kind of pattern, or domestic violence become, well, a matters of it's a daily routine. It means every day, and people are domestically abused, and in certain community, domestic violence a prevalence, yes, but it's all of the day. So, as we conclude this podcast, and as we test our 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 channel, those of us who are listening to this live, domestic violence, as we look at it, the type of domestic violence, like not just the emotional abuse, um, but psychological abuse, verbal abuse affects the person. They get sick in the mind, and probably they diagnosed to have a mental tension or mental illness, and then sometimes lead to death. But here's the thing: if we, as you get people the education coming on YouTube, on Facebook, letting you know about some of the things, some of the danger. How can we prevent domestic violence? How can we walk away from our homes, from our spouses, someone who trying to put us into trouble? Because two things: if you are not careful, you you abuse your wife, or probably you actually harm her or him, or probably become the mass, one party of the victim, but then the next person, because it's a crime, they go to jail for years. What happens to the children? The children become vulnerable. So when you look at the center and the message of what we the Energy campaign against domestic violence is not a project, is a campaign, and not just an eye opening, but it gives us the clear picture about where we are in our religious activities, in compromising with uh, abuses. That means in our home, in our churches, and no longer we can do that, because as we reflect on people who are even the most famous preacher in the world, or whatever that we call them, they might be going through domestic violence, but out of being intimidated not to speak. So the Osage campaign against domestic violence, those of us who are listening to the sound of my voice, as we as we long to see the fruits of this campaign, that all of us, from the community level to the church level, religious organizations, whatever group, whatever you find yourself, join our team, join this committee. We are appealing to every one of us. We might be looking at just the launching, okay, but it's a global initiative, not Liberia alone. It's just going to be launched. But I will tell you that what is drawing our attention to it is because there are a lot of domestic violence all over the place. People have gone to the great beyond because of that. But this one, this servant of God, that the campaign is named, is was actually being was hate in every aspect of her life, and as a kind of eye opening to many believers, we turn to make it a kind of um, spotlight, or a situation, or a story, a reflection about someone in the church that might be going through something similar, but have come to the place not to say anything. So the campaign is going to all highlight, it's going to open the eyes of believers. It's going to open the eyes of whatever religion you believe you belong to. It's going to open the eyes of them when you hear the word Osinichi campaign against domestic violence. So, I'm calling on us, those about the family, whatever you are, if it was a rich man or a rich woman who have the mass because of domestic violence, probably people want to start rushing to have a foundation or do something because why? Because you got money, right? And the thing happens, they got family. But this person seems to don't have it. No. But with the level of authority and the song that she songs, her legacy remains that the enemy will play with her life. And everybody just forget that point, the pointer, the reality of the message that actually reveal the truth of what her husband did to her. So when you hear the word, the name Osenichi, it's not about you know uh, having an organization calling the name foundation. No, it's about a campaign that is going to reflect on thy name. That people who will listen, then they will begin to understand that to be silent and not to speak when something like abuse or something is going on in your community is dangerous. It might lead to death. It might lead to something else. It might be as disastrous in that community because it started with one person and the community failed to talk about it and now it extends. So in domestic violence, there are a lot of things involved. This Osenichi name, if you go back and check the history or the actual thing that happens through that, the means of the husband who called himself. If you look at the treatment, the maltreatment that she received, but yet she said, she was praying to God. She was believing God for his change. So the heart she had is a reflection to all of us believers and those of us who will say, well, it's nothing, right? It's not going to be my portion. Some of us will say, it's not going to be my portion. Now, if you look at Psalm 82, verse 3, it says, advocate, open your mouth for the voiceless. Maintain the rights of the destitute. So as we advocate for the rights of people, the Osenichi campaign against domestic violence is going to highlight on training, mobilization campaigns globally on the internet, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on tweet and different social media and in person. Why you think so? Because many of our daughters, sons, our leaders, wives, sisters are going through a serious situation. I was listening on the last time on the social media, and this lady was talking about how many ladies, many of us, are going through a time that we never expected to go through. We have been abused. Men, yes, men have been abused, but not compared to women, compared to female. People have committed intimate femicides because they killed their girlfriends, some of them the loved one, some of them the wife. Just the other day in Liberia, just for SIM card, a man killed his wife. So domestically, People are abused every time, every minute. The American Journal say 10,000 to 10 million globally are abused. Female. But that is just a assumption. So if you look at the word abuse and you begin to see yourself into an abused marriage or abused home or abused community or abuse, whatever you might call it, you are going to run for it. You see, my last word to all of us, especially the male, and that's what we are mobilizing for more male to be part of this campaign. Because it is us, the men, are taking our hands and putting it on our wives, putting it on our daughter, putting it on the women. Because why? Because sometimes we feel that, well, we are more stronger than they are. But I want to leave this word with all of us. We are going to be coming uh, on Saturday, tomorrow, and today. It's in the morning. And we're going to be talking about how we can all join this campaign in mobilizing. Sometimes, we might be having a problem. People don't have to donate or don't have to give to this to the project or to the program, to the campaign organization. We have our institution, yes, that'll be part of it, but this is a global issue that partners from different places. We'll be talking to Ria Colonian, we'll be talking to um Sage Janet. We are in town with them. We'll be talking to Reverend Rocky, and then many others. Our friend for Haiti, if you look at the Haiti situation, the Asian people are going through very economic situation in Haiti right now, and a lot of abuse going on. Can you imagine when the country is normal, we have abuse? Then what more if the country is hate economically? What happened to the people, especially the people on the other side of the road? And so as the launch of this campaign, you're going to be on Facebook, on YouTube. We're just going to be, encouraging men. Yes, women involved, but mainly men, because we are the one that need to take out the cross and say we must stop now. So as the end of April and first week in May, because I can remember we launched the Osynergy campaign on the morning, Osynergy against domestic, and that's how I can act violence. And if you think you can be part of it, all over the place. Human right is an entitlement, and that right be protected by a sister. It could be your mother, it could be your wife, it could be that friend, it could be that neighbor. Join us as we launch the Synergy campaign against domestic violence. We have choirs. There are a lot of gospel artists going to be there to grace that occasion. We have choir, and the whole day we're going to worship God on the day of the launching. On the Saturday, it's going to be a workshop, awareness. 4 different facilities are going to be coming in from different, two from the government sector and two from the civil society. And partners will be also going to be from America or wherever those other partners will be coming from. We're talking to cross section of people to join us in this initiative. Why you think so? Because it is everybody's business. Join us and let's make the world a better place. Thank you.